My co-host, as always, is nobody other than the one and only Oliver O.T. Thomas, and behind the glass, holding us all together, is super producer Naren. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, O.T. How you doing?
Man, I am doing fantastic. Sorry I can't be in studio for the next couple of days, but we dealing with one car and got to get the kids to school. But I did not want to miss out, especially following some of the tragedy that happened with our election,
Yes.
whether in Baton Rouge or here locally, and didn't want to miss chopping that up with you and what went wrong, what needs to go right and just some of the hypocrisy around politics today in our nation, our state, and our city.
Well, absolutely. I am so glad that you thought about me enough to want to be in this conversation because you know we're going to talk
Yes,
about it this morning because it
yes.
kind of brings us back full circle to the conversation we were having about what is the real weight of these endorsements and if somebody is being endorsed, does that endorsement really carry the sort of value that it once carried? Because how is it that we're not delivering on the seats that are, like the papers say, heavily endorsed? And then how is it that we are just surrendering our cities, Baton Rouge and New Orleans included, to folk who have no real skin in the game? You haven't shown me anything. I don't know what your platform is. I don't know what your expertise is, but yet it's enough. It's enough.
Well, I think that's really the most disturbing thing. But first of all, now all of America's, I mean, all of Louisiana's African American cities, except New Orleans, is now headed by white male Republicans, which is or white elected officials, right? Which is interesting. So I think that we have to take a look at what went wrong, right? What are Democrats not doing in the state that not only when you talk about the rural areas and suburban areas that we've lost ground, but also Democratic officials are getting defeated in highly populated areas that are mostly dominated by the African American demographic. And then the other thing of it is that so when you think about the local school board race here, and no slight on the person who won, but with no education resume, we'll have it was okay to have a white hairdresser sit in the black district, and then a white coach be one of the most experienced government officials in this country in Baton Rouge. So qualifications really isn't the issue. So if qualifications isn't the issue anymore, then maybe race is.
Well, I think
But
the president
go ahead.
elect told us that, Oliver, that qualifications didn't matter.
And absolutely, I think it's not a trickle down, but maybe that long shadow being cast by the fact that ethics and integrity doesn't matter if you're the right race or the right political party. There seems to be a double standard, and in the piece that
Good
I wrote,
point.
don't tell me about Eric Jones' exaggerated resume and some of the allegations in terms of his life, because if that doesn't matter for certain people, why did it matter? Why did it matter here?
Yeah, and but that is a valid point that I definitely was going to go toward, but you beat me there because it was this hyper focus on trying to dismantle all of the things he was saying about himself. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say he was saying those things for a number of years, and the same entity that attacked him was once the entity that was supporting him. So when he was proclaiming to be a doctor when he was in your camp, that didn't matter. When he
It
was
didn't
saying
matter.
he went to Harvard when he was in your camp, it didn't matter. When he was
Didn't matter.
saying that he had 20 plus years of educational experience and he was in your camp, it did not matter. So though his opponent wasn't the author of the things that were being said, she benefited from this heavy charter attack on Eric Jones. It was a very heavy, well-funded attack on him. So much
Oh,
so that they purchased the opinions of a lot of our supposedly black facing social media platforms, right? They purchased
uh,
those
b-
opinions, they
bingo,
purchased them to run those
bingo. That's
stories.
right.
And
That's
so
that's right. That's right.
we have to
That's
think
right.
about this. He was in their camp for years. Years. I
He was.
definitely know he was in their camp when I ran for office, but none of this was being said, none of this mattered. Nobody cared.
Great
But all of a
point.
sudden, it was a full court press when now he's the
Great point.
candidate, but he's no longer under their control.
So let's talk about that,
Let's
right?
talk about that.
He was one of the leading voices for Kira Orange Jones,
Absolutely.
and it didn't matter to the people who just went against him that she didn't live here.
Right.
That fact was proven, right?
Right.
He was one of the leading voices to help promote the charter movement behind Miss Jones, even though folk questions her education and how long and how her resume fit to have a major seat on the Bessie board, on the state's preeminent education board.
Right.
So all of these issues didn't matter when he was their spokesperson. Now,
Right.
so let's talk about so people will understand. Over the last several years, the conversation with Dr. Jones or Eric, no, I'm going to respect him. I'm going to call the brother Dr. Jones.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation with Dr. Jones was that he started to see that the charter system wasn't working in terms of opportunity and fairness. So his opinion started to change. So he went from one of their major supporters to saying, hey, hold on a second, right? This is more about business and education. So now, once he started to change, so then all of a sudden, all of those qualifications in his background and his resume was good enough when they were supporting the millions of dollars that you were over for your system. But once he had a different opinion, once his opinion changed about the effectiveness of your system, then all of a sudden his resume qualifications and integrity came into question. So when he gradually started to pull away from the charter system or challenge the success of it, then this is what happened. And then the last thing I'll say before you jump back in, I'm looking at 2 mail-outs that in my whole time in public office, I don't know that I've ever had the funds to put together 2 back-to-back mail-outs that are this expensive, right? In terms of having the kind of money to do this back-to-back in less than a week. It is unbelievable the amount of money that was poured in, not to support her, but to destroy him.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Dr. Wow.
Absolutely. And that's the point that I was making, when I initially said something about her, though she did not author these conversations and these hit pieces, she benefit from them. But what I implore people to pay attention to is, if you're going to talk about dismantling or dissecting my resume, you don't have anything to dissect on the other side, right? So nobody cared about the non-platform that was on the other side. It was just enough to say, I don't like the way the schools are running. I'm a mother, and I don't like who's running, and I don't like, what he stands for, so I'm going to run. And that could be admirable in many places. But when you talk about a policy-making governing body for schools, this is not the arena to play with our children. Because as I said last week, I don't know why he misrepresented the years of experience, because if you only had 2, it was 2 more than her. So that's my only gripe with him. My gripe is you put the bullets in a gun that you knew they knew about, because you were in their camp. So you knew they knew where your weaknesses were. So what you should have done, and what everybody kept imploring him to do, is get in front of it. Get in front of it. The same way the architects of this mess were able to come out and say, look, we need to course correct because we thought that the intentions were good, but it's not giving us the gains that we once thought. So we have to rethink this thing. Our congressman even came out and said something different than what he originally said when he helped author this mess, right? So if he can do it, why can't you do it? You come from that camp. You understand where the bones are buried. And I also don't understand why you didn't play the game that they wanted to play. If you want to go here, let's go here. Let's talk about all of it. Because you covered up for all of my inaccurate, inadequacies, but now you're exposing me because I'm trying to do the right thing now that I've done the wrong thing for so long.
Well, there's another part that you touched on in terms of the material weakness, right, amongst African American leadership and the lack of unity in the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And I want to touch on that. But before I go there, I met Dr. Jones 30 years ago in the classroom. So I don't understand about attacking his education experience, because that's where I met him. But I also met him running a mentoring program, being the leader of a mentoring program for one of the founders of the charter movement. He was actually running their mentoring program to deal with kids. So he was good enough then. But also, it comes into question, right? And I think we started to talk about it during the Sean Wilson election, where African American Democratic leadership had no unity of purpose or concerted effort, right, to either push a Democratic agenda or protect or advocate for a Democratic, let alone an African American Democratic official. In the past, as a political historian, in the past, had Mr. Jones or someone been under attack, you would have seen black leadership unite to highlight the hypocrisy, especially after those who endorsed him. You would have seen African American ministers and the black political organizations come together to make a statement so that at least people would be aware of the hypocrisy. Those things it didn't happen to come together to get an extra few percentage points so Sean Wilson could make the runoff, and it didn't happen in Baton Rouge where black leadership came together to say, hey, hold on a second, a coach calling offensive plays it's not acceptable for them to beat an experienced governmental official. And it didn't happen here to say someone whose life is spent in the classroom, no matter whether you question it, is different than someone whose life has been spent inside the hair wash room.
Right.
So
And listen,
right. So what's going on with us where we're not united enough, at least to even protect our best interests and to protect our political standing? Go ahead, Dr. Wyatt.
Listen, Reverend Wallace is on the line too, and I want him to join this conversation. And then I have something to say to what you just said. I love the fact that you called. Thank you so much for that. Good morning, Reverend Wallace. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Man, I got to take that brother to lunch. He is certainly on point. He is accurate, and my heart goes out to Dr. Jones. You know, when you sit at Jezebel table and you don't do what Jezebel say, that's what happened. They flipped the script on you, and that's what they did him.
Great point.
But what's the real problem? And they go back to Sean Wilson. It's a damn shame for our black leaders, and you go look at it, because I put a card out for him from my organization to support it. There was zero support for him with the high echelon of black Democrats in the whole area. They stayed back and did nothing. John Bell just threw his name out there. He ain't did a damn thing for him. You understand? Well, we so easy to be bamboo. And it's going to happen with the mayor race. You're going to find out where, Walt Bowie said about them Negroes. You're going to find them Negroes you think in your community is working for you. You find out they bother now. And it's sad, the Democratic Party to put this girl over this man in there, even though he had a fake resume with some stuff that he shouldn't have had on there, and he can tweak that and fix that, like you said, brother. But the fact is, the girl don't have no experience on nothing. But you go behind the people that spend the money on her. That's the people that's making the decision for the school system in New Orleans, and they ought to get rid of the whole damn board because they ain't worth nothing.
Thank you, Reverend Wallace. We appreciate your insight. So OT, with the point I was trying to make with talking about what you were saying is that it baffles my mind, really and truly. It does, how folk can know what the play is, can be quiet about the play, and then we Monday morning quarterback things every single time. We knew this was coming. We knew it. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew that those folk, because he in essence crossed them, right? You don't get to cross them and come out unscathed, right? And you're trying to tell me that nobody in New Orleans, no political powers in New Orleans have enough juice to have collectively gotten together and said, this is what's best for children. We don't care what the rest of this noise is around it, but we have to make the best decision right now for kids. Right? That should have been the only thing that was taken into account. Because again, I'm going to say it again. I don't understand why there's the misrepresentation of a resume. Don't get it. Because no matter how much time you have, it's more time than your opponent has in an arena that governs policy making for our babies, right? So I don't get that.
Bingo.
That's
Bingo.
what I don't get. So why can't we unify around what is best, even if it's one singular issue? We could disagree on all the rest of the stuff, but the issue is who is best to lead our children, who is best at understanding the complexities of a system that he helped create, right? Who's better to help dismantle it, but somebody that helped pick up the bricks and put it together. This is what I don't understand. I don't understand that. I will never understand that. And again, this is no shot against her because she created this false argument around being villainized for her profession. Girl, nobody's villainizing you for doing hair. All of us need hairdressers, especially melanated people. We need folk to do our hair. So nobody's villainizing your profession.
Go ahead, Dr.
What we're
Wyatt.
saying is your profession has no place in a policy-making, governing body for my babies. That's what we're saying. That's it and that's all. Now, if you had gone to any kind of classes or conventions or conferences or did some CLUs around policymaking and you could show us that, then this would be a different conversation. But there's nothing to hang your hat on when it comes to this arena. That's all I'm saying. No shot against you or your job.
Not at all. It is a shot at the hypocrisy
Absolutely.
of the system. And in one of the pieces that I was working on writing, I think, it's crazy, right? Because I think with Barack Obama's election, people said it was a post-racial society. Race didn't matter. Well, that is absolutely not true when you look at the breakdown of where folk voted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Race did matter because integrity, being principled didn't matter in the Trump election, right? But it mattered when
In
you
a
talked
little
about
school board race.
in the school board race, and let me tell you how effective the attack was. And this is the new model, right? You don't have to be for a candidate. You can just destroy another candidate, right?
You know we got to go to break, OT, but I want to continue this conversation. You going to stay with me after the break?
Hold on. Yes,
Listen,
I will.
we have to go to break, y'all, but we'll have more conversations about the outcome of our December 7th election. Stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM. Or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Hi, this is Wendell Pierce, partner at WBOK. And I'd like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday season. From all of us here at WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to longer.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Y'all know OT is in the building with us as well. And Nyron, super producer Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass holding us all together. If you are just joining this conversation, OT and I are talking about the outcome of the December 7th election, namely talking about that one coveted school board seat. OT, you still there with us?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I am.
So you and I were talking before the break, and we were talking mainly about the hypocrisy of it all, right? All of a sudden, this
Yeah,
high
yeah.
moral ground of integrity and truth telling and speaking truth to power is now the thing to do, because we had an all out assault. That's what I call it. It was literally an all out political assault, coming from every angle. And though the opponent in the race wasn't the author of a lot of these attacks, she was the benefactor of it. And we have to just call a thing. And that's the problem we're having here, because we even allowed her to come out and say that there's a attack on her profession. There's no attack on your a profession. That is your profession. And people calling you a hairdresser shouldn't be an insult if you are in fact a hairdresser. I don't understand why that is considered an attack. No, the line is drawn when we're talking about a governing body that creates policy for our children. That is what we're talking about. And if the person who is running, even if his qualifications or his resume isn't cutting the mustard for certain entities, there is more to his resume than there is to hers. There is more to his platform than there was to hers, because the only thing I heard, and I watched her hot seat, was that she said she ran because she had a baby in 2022 and she didn't like the state of the schools and she wanted to do something about it. So my question to her would have been, before you gave birth to a baby, was the school system okay for our kids? And why was there no urgency to do something about it? This thing been going on for 20 years. So it wasn't until you decided to have a baby that you decided that school system wasn't okay for your baby. I guess that's what I'm hearing her say.
Well, I'm actually going to take it away from. I'm not even questioning her intentions, her profession, or whether she happened to be a pawn on the chessboard that
absolutely,
has its
I agree.
own, that has its own players. The question is, what you and I are doing is that I think, first of all, you set the table some time ago in conversations after the last governor's race as to why wasn't there more an effort, first of all, from the Democratic Party, secondly, from Democratic officials, and then thirdly, from African-American elected officials to have more unity of purpose around getting Sean Wilson elected. We found out there were a lot of gamesmanship being played. People were in both camps. And Sean actually, in the lack of strategy, I think, in the Wilson campaign, if you run to make a runoff, don't be upset when you don't make the runoff. So for me, there were a couple of things that happened there that came together to allow Jeff Landry to win in the first, and that never should have happened. But here, hence moving forward, where was the unity of purpose, right, to protect the seat in Baton Rouge, to protect this school board seat? Even if you question Eric Jones or Dr. Jones, I'm going to respect Dr. Jones's resume, then he had way more experience in the classroom as an educator, and actually was the leader of one of the mentoring programs for the charter founders. And he was their spokesperson in this region to get Kara Jones elected. So he
Absolutely.
was good enough. He was good enough for them to be on the point. But once he changed his position on the effectiveness of the charter system, questioned its viability, then all of a sudden he became a target. So, but where were we to protect him? And I'll include myself in that. Where was our unity of voice, right? Where black elected officials said, hey, hold on a second. You know what? Not only are we not going to let you assassinate this brother, he is eminently more qualified to be in education than someone whose resume has nothing to do with education.
And I'm gonna go a step further and say, OT, and say that also shows you what they will do to anybody who's taking their money, right? And then decides later on down the line to switch to bet for a different team. They're showing you what their prowess is. They're showing you what they're going to do to anyone who dare goes against them, right? Miss Alicia's on line 3. Good morning, Miss Alicia. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, everybody. I am hot. I am livid for the same reasons that you all are speaking of. But I'm not going to be so kind, because what they did to Eric, that hit job that they did with all the different Verit, who's related to Sharon Brilsky, who did all of the hits that she did. And I don't know if you all are aware of this, but in all of their hates, and I blame Gabriella too, because she benefited from that stuff, and she knew all that stuff was coming out, and it did come out. Now, one time did she step up and say, hey, y'all, wait a minute, you're going too far. She didn't do that. And when they posted this man's Social Security number to the public, that is highly illegal, and that should have never happened. And it's sure they can't call back now and say, oops, because he can't get a new Social Security number. But his number is out there for people who do the ID fraud to use. And I don't like the group step back. Step up. Step up is supposed to be for second chances. But because one of the leaders have a personal angst against Eric Jones, she allowed all this his stuff, and she was doing all she said. But they too was supposed to be about second chances, because that's what all their members are, people of second chances. Then you have Vote, 2 murderers who run Vote, and they're supposed to be about second chances as well. But they hit Eric, and they supported this woman. And I am so sick of it. I'm tired of it. Our children are going to suffer. I got into a debate with an OPDEC member that I'm on the OPDEC committee with, and he had the audacity to talk about Eric didn't his resume. I said, but she doesn't have a resume. So what are you saying about that? You said nothing about that. She doesn't have an education degree. He wouldn't even mention anything about her. And then he talked about what's good for children. Your children go to Newman. And then he had the nerve to come back and tell me, well, no, my baby boy goes to Ben Franklin. I said, it proves my point. Where our children have to fight to get into those prestigious schools, even the charter schools. Don't come to me and tell me what's best for our black children sitting on a board to govern and make policy for our black children. The hairdresser is not the one. And when I tell you they was going deep against Eric, but had nothing to say about this girl, I am so disgusted. I'm disgusted by what happened in Baton Rouge. I couldn't believe it. And you have a former host from WBOK who was supporting the fact that this coach got this position over Sharon Broom. Come on.
Before you go, Ms. Alicia, I think the great point is that they never did a comparison piece in terms of the job. I've seen over the years, we both have, over decades, where at least the media, and especially like the Advocate or Times-Picayune or some print media, would do a side-by-side comparison piece, right, to see, so the public can see whose resume at least fits what they're running for. That never happened.
Correct.
It never happened.
Even the Advocate. The Advocate
you're absolutely
was
correct.
talking
That
only
never
about
happened.
Eric
And
against
standard
Eric.
one-on-one in every election I've ever seen. It was never a comparison piece to say, okay, I may be Lucifer himself, but I checked all the boxes for this particular seat. That piece didn't happen, and that had to be coordinated, and it had to be part of an effort, and it had to be intentional.
Well, I tell you this: all those blacks who got in bed with Leslie Rosenthal Jacobs, and I'm so disgusted. I said this when Trump won. Before I fight and advocate for anybody, you're gonna have to show me who you voted for. And parents who stay at home while they continue this charter disaster, this confirmed failed system, show me who you voted for, and show me if you voted.
Well, thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Ms. Alicia. We appreciate you as always.
The other thing that has to come into question is, and I've spoken about it before I got elected again this time. I've talked about the whole psychology around African American politics right now. I'm glad I saved these pieces, Dr. White, and I did it on purpose so that you and I can continue our discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the endorsement, all the African American organizations who supported Dr. Jones and officials. So it's evident that we don't have the juice that we think that we have, or that we purport that we have, or it's what you and I talked about last time. We got one foot on one side of the track,
let's talk about
and
it.
another foot on another set. Go ahead. I set the table.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, because that to me, and I'm going to say it because I know you notice me jumping in with the oars to protect you because you got business that you need to handle. So let me handle the lightweight, right? Here is what I'm saying. You're not going to tell me you don't have the juice when I've watched you squeeze it for other people, right? When John Bell Edwards ran, I watched people personally walk him through our black churches. I watched black pastors personally give him access to the pulpit. I watched black politicians personally escort him to the cookouts, right? To the Zulu picnics and things of that nature. I watched this with my own eyes. So don't tell me you don't have the juice. You just don't want to put it in the right cup. That's my thing, right? Don't tell me you don't have it. So you're letting people borrow your likeness, but when it comes to your boots on the ground, that's what you're not giving them. That's what you're doing. You gave him an endorsement with your likeness, but your footwork was for something else or somebody else. Let's talk about it. Because the math ain't mathing. There's no way. There's no way you're going to tell me this one white girl, this one white lady, for all intents and purposes, is more powerful than every political figure that looks like us in the city, the blackest city. You're not going to tell me she got that much. You're not going to sell that to me. What you're going to tell me is she got enough dead presidents to wake up the lack of integrity in the people who supposed to be fighting for us. That's what she has. She has the revenue. She has money in their coffers. That's what she has. Because anything other than that, I ain't sell. I'm not buying what they selling. I'm not. You're not going to tell me that at every corner, the right people are being endorsed, but they get beat every single time by this one person. You're not going to tell me she's not calling them in the room and they all got one agenda behind our back, but to our face, they perpetrating a fraud. That's what I think is happening here. Nothing else is making sense. Nothing else.
Well, you just set the table for the other part of the debate of the question of hypocrisy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you used the perfect example, Dr. Wyatt. John Bell Edwards was in trouble to a billionaire effort to get him out of office so he wouldn't his second term to respond to.
And we pulled out all the stops.
We pulled out the Democratic Party, black elected officials, black preachers, black political brokers, did everything but not go to sleep for a couple hours a day to make sure that you could eke out that election by 40,000 votes.
Yep.
That was a massive effort. That effort didn't happen in Baton Rouge to help Sharon Weston Broome, and that effort did not happen locally to at least help an educator get on the school board. Nothing against the other young woman, but someone whose resume fits the job.
I'm going to go even further, though, OT. This was more about helping Senator Dr. Joseph Bowie. Let's just call it what it is, right? We know what that man's agenda has been in terms of eradicating this community of these failing for-profit entities. That's what this was about. This was bigger than Eric Jones. This was bigger than District 2. This was about returning our democratic right to our locally elected school board and forcing them to do what they don't want to do. Nobody wants to run our schools. That's what this was about. This was about putting bodies in seats to make certain that we had the votes necessary to make certain that our children have access to schools that work. That's what this was about. And people went to sleep at the wheel. People went to sleep at the wheel on purpose. And we need to start calling it out. And we need to start making them pay for disservice in black children and black communities in a black city. And I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of being nice about it. I'm tired of making little baby steps around the issue. It's time to call it out for what it is. I watched Sean Wilson run that desperate race for that seat, knowing he didn't have the support from the black elected policy-making people right here in this city. Supposed to be kingmakers, supposed to be gatekeepers, supposed to be come kiss this ring and you're going to have the access. What happened to it? The ring don't shine the same when the candidate is black? What's happening?
So let's set the table a little more, and then I'm gonna cut you loose again. All right, Baton Rouge is growing now, especially post Katrina. It's growth. The Baton Rouge Alive program, that $1 billion effort to create growth along the riverfront. Baton Rouge right now, I think Amazon and IBM, and is gaining corporate interest. Right. So so Baton Rouge is in play when you talk about corporate growth of the city, and opportunity when you talk about resources, right? So Baton Rouge was back on the map and there was an opportunity to take Baton Rouge, they did. So now let's go to the school board piece because you set the table for that. It's extremely important that you have 4 or 5 votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why are those 4 or 5 votes important, right? So those 4 or 5 votes are important because we just experienced a board that was leaning towards one school board run school, the Leah Chase School. So it was an effort to take a look at the fact that maybe there needed to be some balance, especially because the charter system wasn't giving us the results. So right in the midst of this effort, with this for the former superintendent, who was more sympathetic to challenging the effectiveness of the charter system and saying, "Hey, hold on a second,
and that's why she ain't here.
Involved. We should be more involved in direct run schools."
Mm-hmm.
These 2 school board seats were extremely important to do what? For votes to control that effort. So
Absolutely.
Bingo.
Absolutely. So look, you
Go
know
ahead.
the phone lines are lit up. Reverend Calhoun is on line too. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
They paid for what they wanted, that vote. What Oliver just said, they got the vote. They can control.
But Reverend Calhoun,
Again,
Reverend Calhoun, listen. Her platform said, the little she did say, she said she's against the charter schools, right? She's for more direct run schools. She wants to help run more. So she's saying all of the things that he was saying as well. So the hit piece was not about anything other than trying to destroy him.
Again, you know what it was about.
Absolutely.
They need her voice on that board tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about direct run schools.
Mm-hmm.
Why has not there been any conversation concerning MLK High School about it being direct run school?
Because they have a charter operator lined up to take it. That's why.
Wait, you believe that?
You know why?
You know
what they're trying to do.
Hold on, Reverend Calhoun. Just for 1 second, Dr. Wyatt hit on something that's extremely important. You saw the movie Fugitive before, right? With
Yep.
Nights on the
Yes,
Run.
I have.
Dr. Jones was a fugitive on a run who had abandoned their system. So when you're a fugitive on a run, and especially now that you're going against the system that you were the spokesperson for, it was more important to make an example out of him than it was whatever her platform or agenda was, or what she stood for or didn't have in terms of education. So what happened on the plantation, right? The biggest, most rebellious buck had to be brought to the wagon to do what? Lynched or shot in the head. So Dr. Jones's biggest mistake was going against
they had
the
to take
people
his manhood.
who he advocated for. So it was important that he
They had to break the buck, baby. They had to break the buck. Why we acting like we can't just say the quiet part out loud? Because you know what else? You know what else, Reverend Calhoun? It's a bunch of other ones they done gave money to, whose purse strings they pulling quietly in the background. And anytime you see them not come with a real stance about something, it's because they can't. They have 1 foot in the community and 1 foot in her pocket, and that's why they know they can't outright come and say this is wrong. Because if you call it wrong, then you're going to force her to turn her aim on you, and now she's going to uncover everything that she's done for you. That's what this is all about. They all taking money from her.
It was more important, Reverend Calhoun, and I hear you, to destroy Eric Jones for abandoning a system that he was once part of, turning his back on his makers. It was more important to destroy and punish him than whatever her education agenda was. Period.
Well, again, we're coming back to what it's all about. How is this going to impact our children? Because when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's already been demonstrated that this is a failed system. These charter management operators are not. They may have a couple of schools doing well, but those schools were doing well before the
Absolutely, they were. Thank you, Reverend Calhoun. We appreciate you.
It puts the brakes on his efforts. It all but attempts to obliterate it. And it also slows down or puts a pause to any thought about more direct run schools.
Yes.
So mission accomplished.
Yes. And it also, OT, listen to me very clearly. It sends a very clear message to anybody else who dare step out of line after I've given you your marching orders. You don't have the right to change your mind after you take my money. Who do you think you are that you could do something other than what I tell you to do when I fund you? That's what she's saying. That's what she's saying, her and all her cronies. That's what they're saying. Let me show you what I did to him, and we're going to hang him out for everybody to see. You know where I'm going with this, OT. We're going to put him on this platform, and we're going to make the masses come out and watch this lynching. So in case you decide that you want to do right for black children, let me show you what the outcome going to be. You better get in line. That's what you better do. That's what you best do.
I know we only got a minute left, but and I got to go bring the kids to school, but here's the other important point you set the table for. They used African-American social media and internet outlets to be the lynchman, to be the hangman.
I told you that. They sent us for us.
And they sent us for us to set the table to depress black vote, to have enough black vote question, because there were precincts that Dr. Jones won in the first that he did not win in the second. So it was an effective piece. So look, Dr. Wyatt, bless you. Love you times 10.
Thank you so much.
And we will continue this discussion as I call in at the beginning of the week.
I appreciate you, the OT. Have a blessing. Right, bye-bye. Listen, Sean, I know you're there and we got to go to break, but can you please hold on? Because on the other side of the break, we're going to have more with this conversation. The aftermath of the election right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
WBOK is pleased to announce the reboot of Crosstown Conversations with host Gene Nathan. A heightened focus on cultural entertainment events and the creators who present them. The new time is now Saturday at noon. Tune into the stories of our exploding creative scene with Gene Nathan on Crosstown Conversations.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
News Schools for New Orleans would like to wish all of our city's educators and families a happy holidays. As you prepare, remember to connect with family and friends, reflect on the fall semester, and set new goals for the new year. We appreciate everything you do.
Hi, this is Jeff Thomas wishing you happy holidays.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Monday, y'all. I am your host, Dr. Asham Sawai. Behind the glass, holding it all together for us, the super producer, Nyron Sanders. And I want to give a shout out to my co-host for always holding me down no matter where he is. Shout out to Oliver O.T. Thomas. But we're going to go straight to the phone lines. Sean, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Dr. White.
How you doing?
Okay. Hey, look, don't be mad at me, okay? But I'm just gonna say this, I listen to you, in the morning, and I've been listening to you for a while. And, your passion, your enthusiasm, everything is great and spot on. But the difference is that you believe in the politics of the nature of it and expecting for it to be like it's supposed to be. And it's so messed up until like you're trying to reason and it don't make sense, which it don't. But the thing of it is some of the candidates are playing the game and can't speak against some of the players or the organizations involved in the game because they too benefit from the game. So it's like trying to make sense of the whole situation. It unfortunately is not just going to happen because it's senseless, but it only makes sense when you look at the politics of the game. So I love your passion. I know you're very smart, intelligent, but unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of knives in your back because you exposing and your truth, and you giving it to the people just like it is. But it's too many people that's involved in the game is just not riding on that same page with you are. Even some of the players that may align, that you may feel like align with you, some of them is not even, they're more involved in the game and playing the game. So I just hate that your passion and your knowledge is sometimes may not align with the players that's playing this game.
Oh, I received that. Thank you so much, Sean. And trust me, I'm very much aware. I'm very much aware. But thank you for that. We appreciate you here at WBOK. Have a good one.
You.
Listen, I want full transparency, y'all. Listen, I want you to hear me when I say this very clearly. I see them. And that is the real threats because they know that I see them. What I'm waiting on and what I'm hopeful for and what I know is possible is that there is a part of New Orleans that just has a I don't quit mentality, right? I don't give in. It's no retreat, no surrender. There's a part of New Orleans that is still very much alive somewhere. And I don't know if it's just disengaged from everything. I don't know if it's hibernating. I don't know where it is, but I want it back. And I'm going to keep talking until I get it back because there's something very appalling to me when folk can just come here and just take. But you find two native New Orleanians and let them have a disagreement about something, they gonna fight to the death. But y'all gonna let visitors come in your house and rearrange your furniture and ain't nobody gonna say nothing? Are we only extra violent? And I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about violence. Are we only extra violent when it comes to fighting each other? But when the real enemies show up, when the real intruder comes to the door, do we cower? Is that who we are? Because something about this is blowing my mind. Blowing my mind. A coach is going to run policy for the entire city of Baton Rouge. What? It is blowing my absolute mind. But I keep telling you, your opponents are playing the long game. See, we don't get proactive until we reactive, right? We don't get proactive until it's the play had already been made and now we want to do something about it. These folks stacking chess pieces all over the board before you even read the directions to the game. We already losing. They don't prepare for 2024 in 2024. They prepare for 24 in 2000. And we sitting here with our heads on a swivel like, wait, what? What happened? Because we too late. We too late. So I'm just trying to understand, what is it going to take? What seat do you have to lose? How many children have to die? How much does food have to go up? How much does your light bill have to be? What do you have to do? How many holes do they have to dig in your community and never fix for you to say, I'm tired of this? What has to happen? I don't know. I don't know. Because I can guarantee you there ain't no other place on this planet where you could go walk into their community and your only credential is that you know how to roll some hair and color it. And you could tell those people, I want to be in control of policy for your children. And they're going to be like, yeah, come on. No other place it's happening. No other place. But the only demographics that allow it to happen is when most of the children are black and poor. That's when you can pull whatever you want to pull when the children are black and poor. Because they mama too busy trying to work 2 and 3 jobs. She can't pay attention to what we doing. Let's go there. Their daddy might be incarcerated or dead. He can't pay attention. Let's go where the kids are black and poor. Let's go pillage from already starving communities. And then we anoint these people. We knight them to protect us, to stand in the line for us. And while we knighting them, they opening their pockets to the enemy and selling us out. Because that's the only thing that can make sense here. Ain't no other way about it. You can't tell me that black folk ain't complicit in this. That's the only way that this scam can go on so efficiently. That woman ain't that powerful. She ain't Thanos, right? She ain't. You're not going to make me believe she's a Marvel character. She's untouchable. You're not going to make me believe that. Because what I believe is every dog have their day. That's what I believe. I believe the chickens got to come home to roost. That's what I believe. I believe karma hold a mighty strong boomerang and it got to come back. What you put out in this world got to come back to you tenfold. I believe that. And what I'm asking for is when the purge come, I want God to reveal them all. Like, you know, if y'all ever watch Scooby-Doo, you watch it? They pull a cover off the enemy head every single episode. I can't wait for them to unveil these people who are complicit in the demise of my community and its children. I can't wait. I can't wait. Because I guarantee you, when the covers come off, y'all gonna be acting like you're shocked. Acting, pretending, oh my God, can't believe it's him. And I'm gonna be saying, oh, it took us that long to realize it was him and her. I keep trying to tell y'all, just pay attention, just open your eyes. The things they once couldn't afford, they buying it in abundance. You don't get that kind of wealth overnight. No, you don't. Y'all be thinking the real meetings happen in the city council chambers or at the school board meetings. Nope, it's in somebody's living room. It ain't even really happening at Houston's. They used to do real business at Houston's, but now that the Houston's is to celebrate the backdoor deal they've already made. That's why they go to Houston's, to pretend like they're having a meeting, but that's the meeting after the meeting. That's the celebratory steak and wine. They done already sold you out. It's done already. Y'all, I'm disturbed. I really am. I'm disturbed because sometimes I feel like my mind is betraying me because my thoughts never stop. They never stop. I want y'all to understand there's no way that you could bring this black woman from Selma, Alabama and ask her to run your schools and you unanimously vote her in and y'all all support her. Even the charter kingmakers supported her until she decided that this idea of direct running schools isn't so bad. This idea of not closing them, but giving the resources to them from the district isn't all that bad. And she became expendable at that point. All of the glowing reviews they had about her, now she is an enemy of the state. She got to go. Y'all didn't see it? And then they put that nice article together talking about all her accolades and all the money she brought to the district and all of the wonderful things she did. But somehow there's a $36 million shortfall that they're going to lay at her doorstep and try to make us believe that it's all her fault. But see, if you know a little bit like me, just a little bit like me, you know she worked for the school board. You know she have to give them the budget. They have to also agree. So why are we going to let her carry that water by herself? Are you punishing her for believing in what they told her, the dream they sold her when she came here? Or are you going to stand by her because now she see the light and she trying to help you get to the light? But before she could bring you into the light, they sent her on her way. Because we can't have that here. This is a real operation, and we can't have that here. That's the same sword they cut her neck with. That's the same sword they cut Eric Jones with. But see, the difference now is they done took all they could take from you, Eric. Now it's time to call a thing. Point them out. Tell us who they are. Because you've been in the back rooms with them. You've been at Houston's over the stake after the deals have been made. Tell us who they are. Because elections have consequences. And it's far beyond time for us to hold the real people accountable for the broken systems that we have all up and through this city. And I don't care if they look like us. Because looking like us is no longer enough. You have to be about us or you got to get out of our way. Stay right here. We're going to have more. We're going to talk to Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith. She's calling in. She's an author. Maybe she has something to say. Who knows? God don't make no mistakes. Stay right here. WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. At least 10 people were injured in Palm Springs when a police officer lost control of his motorcycle during a parade, crashing into the crowd. The officer severed his hand and 9 spectators suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Hate crime and first-degree assault charges were dropped for 12 of the 15 Salisbury University students accused of assaulting a man due to his sexuality. Their charges were reduced to misdemeanor second-degree assault. A study by Duke and Florida State Universities links lead exposure from gasoline to mental health issues in Americans, including depression, anxiety, and hyperactivity. Leaded gas was used from 1923 to 1996. And Judy Garland's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz sold for $28 million at auction, the most valuable movie memorabilia ever. Including commissions, the total was over $32 million. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans wants to send a huge congratulations to all of our educators, students, and families of New Orleans for their continuous academic growth. School performance scores have been released from the state. For the first time in many years, there are no failing schools in New Orleans Public Schools. As a district, our performance increased by 4 points. In addition, Orleans Parish now exceeds pre-COVID school performance score for all students by 6.2 points. When you see a teacher, school leader, or student, be sure to show them some love.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Shout out to Oliver O.T. Thomas for joining us this morning and every caller that called in with a little bit of input about the aftermath of the December 7th election, particularly around our school board race in District 2. Shout out to my super producer, Naira Sanders, for holding us down. But right now, we're going to have a conversation with Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith. She's an author, and Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith is an author, speaker, and board-certified physician. She has an active medical practice in Alabama near the Birmingham area. She received her BS in biochemistry at the University of Georgia and graduated with honors from a Harry Medical College in Nashville. She has been an adjunct faculty member at Baker College and Davenport University in Michigan, teaching courses on health, nutrition, and disease progression. Let's welcome Dr. Sandra to the Good Morning Show. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Listen, thank you for being here. And it's always, a double thank you for waking up so early. Not everybody can navigate these early morning waters, but your resume tells me that you can. So thank you for being here with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So listen, we're talking about and something that is near and dear to me because I find myself only resting after I've run into a wall or two, and that's God's way to say, girl, sit down, right? But it says rest seems like a simple process. Why then do some people struggle with fatigue, insomnia, and burnout?
Well, because I think just like you stating, we live in a culture where rest is seen as lesser than. We don't appreciate it for the ability to actually help us stay in a place of sustainability and to help us to stay the best version of ourselves. When we have a great work ethic and we have no problem working, but we have no rest ethic, then what ends up happening is we lead ourselves to burnout and to getting to that place of fatigue and exhaustion.
So tell us about the rest quiz and how do we access it so we can, because I'm curious. I actually want to do it to see how that's going to tell me about myself. So what is the rest quiz?
Yes, my work is based around what's called 7 types of rest. So it's a framework of being able to evaluate what type of rest you actually need. So you're not just sleeping or not just laying around watching Netflix and thinking that's going to restore you, but you're actually getting very intentional in 7 different areas. And those areas include physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, sensory, and creative. And evaluating in which bucket are you depleted? Where do you have a rest deficit? The quiz is a free assessment that we have at restquiz.com that lets you get a score in all 7 of these areas to help you on that journey.
So where can we access it? Is it online somewhere? Because I'm curious. I actually want to do this.
Yes, it's online, and the URL, the website is just restquiz.com. Really simple.
Quiz.com. And is it going to, like, if I take it, it's going to, like, give me a diagnostic of my sleep pattern or the way I rest? How does that work?
When you take it, there's about 70 questions, so it's a true assessment. It takes about 5 minutes to 7 minutes to fill out.
Mm-hmm.
We always tell people don't overthink it, just answer the questions. And then you get an email that gives you a score in each of those 7 different areas that I mentioned, so that you can actually see where you're needing rest at. For example, for some people, the type of rest they're needing isn't just sleeping or getting a massage, which are types of physical rest. They may be needing emotional rest. They need the ability to be able to share their emotions with other people, not always people-pleasing, not always in a performance or productivity type mode. For someone else, they may need creative rest because they're using a lot of energy solving problems or being innovative and thinking outside of the box. For someone who is actively doing things on purpose, if maybe they are, as you mentioned, they're in the community being an activist, they may need time where they're having spiritual rest because they're pouring out spiritually from a deeper place of themselves to better the world, and they may need being poured back into in that area so that that part of themselves stays full. So for each person, they really have to evaluate not just am I tired, but what kind of tired am I, so that they can be intentional about getting the rest, the restorative activities that pour back into them. Because that's really what rest is about. It's not just about cessation and stopping. It's about pouring back into the places that get depleted when we do the work we're called to.
So in your book, Sacred Rest, you describe 7 types of rest. What are they?
Yes, those 7 types are physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, sensory, and creative.
So listen, I want you to hear me, Doc, when I tell you this. I am intrigued because in the earlier segment I was having, I mentioned that my mind never turns off. It's like I'm laying there. I want to be asleep, but my thoughts are continuously moving. So I know I'm not resting in the way that I need to. So I definitely am going to get on this site and take this quiz so I can better understand the type of rest my body really requires, because my mind never slumbers. Is that normal?
Well, what you're describing is mental rest. So mental rest, you described it perfectly. Mental rest is when our mind refuses to turn off. As you mentioned, your physical body wants to rest, but you can tell that some part of you is not getting to a restorative place. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They want to get higher and better quality sleep, but because one of these 7 areas has a deficit, they're then not able to actually get the sleep they need because another part of them is not resting. So just a quick tactic for someone who, like you just mentioned, you lay in the bed and your brain won't turn off. Activities, one of the simplest ways of improving that is doing what we call a brain dump. Because as long as you are ruminating and thinking on that thought over and over again, it's almost like studying for like a chemistry test or a spelling bee. When you ruminate, your brain holds on to the information even stronger because it feels like there's some test coming up. So if you just pause for a moment, whatever the thought is that keeps popping up, jot down those ideas that are coming up in the middle of the night that are keeping you awake.
Get out of my head, Doc. I do. Like, I go into my notes section on my phone and I just start putting notes there so I can get it out of my brain so my brain can calm itself down, right? But I'm going to tell you a fun fact about me. I turn on Matlock. When I cannot sleep, I watch Matlock all the time, the old Matlock. It's a thing I did with my grandmother. But now it's how I get to sleep. When my brain won't just come down, I turn Matlock on. It literally suits me to sleep. That's a fun fact about me, y'all. But I'm trying to figure it out because my brain is on overload all the time. And I'm like, okay, let me write this down, and then I can kind of decompress. So I'm very intrigued about this conversation because I want to actually go to sleep, and I think about thoughts all through the night, right? That's my
It's
issue.
interesting that you said you use a TV show because what TV and music, particularly if it's something that you can allow your brain to kind of go into a rhythm, and some of the older TV shows kind of have a rhythmic pattern to them as far as how they unfold. Yes. That rhythmic pattern can actually help some people fall asleep.
So it does make sense what I'm doing.
And some people use like the sound of rain or waves because of that same thing. The mind will attach to the rhythmic pattern and it'll move out of that stress cycle.
So can you share an example of how a deficiency in one of these types of rest has affected someone's health or productivity in your clinical practice?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we see very often is if someone has a sensory rest deficit, meaning that they are in very loud or very a lot of lights and sounds and all of the sensory inputs, and they may come to me as a physician and say, I've tried everything. I can't get my blood pressure down. Well, your body's actively responding to sensory overload syndrome. The lights, the sounds, all of the extra stressors that are coming in from that, we don't realize the effect that it's having on our cortisol system, and it's spiking up our stress response. And a blood pressure a pill will help, but if you're having external things that are adding to it, then you have to look at what are some of those external things that are driving this blood pressure elevation as well. And that's something we see very often. People who say, I've tried everything, nothing works, they can't get my blood pressure down. And it could be something as simple as turning the notifications off on their phone because they're getting all these notifications that are keeping them low-level stressed, or they're working in a place that has a lot of noise and they need to do some noise cancellation earphones maybe at their desk to prevent some of that extra sound that's leading to the irritation and agitation of sensory rest deficit.
So what would you say is the most overlooked type of rest, and why is it often neglected?
I think one of the most overlooked, and it's becoming more of, people are becoming significantly more aware of it over the past 5 years, have been emotional rest. I think we talk about mental health, but and emotional health has a component of mental health, but one of the types of emotional rest deficit are something I call professional emotional labor. So if you work in customer service, or if you're a teacher and you're working with parents, or if you're a doctor and or a nurse and you have angry patients at times, we're trained to be able to keep our emotions in check. You don't just go lashing out at a patient because they ticked you off, or if you're in customer service, you can't yell back necessarily at the customer. You're going to probably get fired. So we train ourselves to actually hold and blunt our emotions. And then we lose our ability to recognize where are safe places to release our emotions and the need that we have to release it, because otherwise all of that starts compounding. And we get people who then have worsening emotional intelligence and a decreased ability to actually express their own emotions, which then affects everything from your relationships to your ability to communicate. And so that's one of the ones we're finding that a lot of particularly leaders struggle with. They don't consider themselves to be people pleasers, but whenever you are holding back an emotion, you're doing it because of professional reasons or societal type reasons. It ends up leading to an emotional rest deficit, and you have to have a place to release that, whether it's a counselor, a therapist, a friend that you can just be real with, a pastor, whatever that is for you. We all need that person or people where we can be real, raw, and authentic about what we're feeling.
So how can someone assess whether they are deficient in one or more types of rest?
Well, restquiz.com that's the reason we developed that, because a lot of people were struggling with that issue. But one of the other ways is to look at your life. Look at where you expend energy throughout your day. So what kind of work do you do? What kind of energy is used in that work? I heard you mention about education. So if a teacher is in a classroom, chances are there's more than 10 kids in most of these classrooms that I'm seeing. So if you have more than 10 kids, you're going to have some that are auditory learners, some that are visual learners. She's got the same 30 minutes to teach that algebra. So she's going to have to be creative and use creative energy, because she has to creatively construct a class that then allows both types of learners to get what they need. If that teacher also happens to be, let's say, someone with ADHD or neurodivergent, then she has the additional stress of sensory overwhelm that might be affecting her, or sensory rest deficits that are affecting her, because classrooms and kids tend to be loud, and you can't put on earphones during that situation. So that's something she needs to be aware of. And then if we have on top of that, that's the preparation and the amount of mental rigor that it takes to plan and to study. That's the type of person who lays down at night and is still thinking about the plan for the day, or who's still thinking about conversations that were had at a parent conference. And even the parent conference itself is using social energy. You're expending social energy in that interaction. So that person can then see, I'm using energy in all of these buckets, and then has to ask themselves, what am I doing to actually pour back into that bucket? How am I restoring the energy that I've used?
So that sounds like advice, because my next question was going to be, what advice do you have for people who feel like they simply don't have time to rest, and how can they start to integrate more rest into their busy lives?
Yeah, that's one of the big things. A lot of people feel like in order to rest, I have to take vacations and, take all this time off or quit my job. And really, those things aren't burnout prevention strategies. A vacation's only, a couple of times a year. That can't be your only way of resting and restoring. Most of the things we talk about in my book, Sacred Rest, as well as in my workplace wellbeing consulting agency, is that specifically people have to learn how to rest in the middle of their busy day. It's not about adding more hours to your day. It's about looking at the places where restorative practices and restorative activities can naturally fit in. Like you mentioned about going to sleep. So if someone has a sensory rest deficit and they notice that they have a hard time winding down at night, they don't have to necessarily always be thinking, oh, I need to dim my lights or turn down the lights on my computer. There's automations that do that, free automations that do these things. We just have to be more intentional about evaluating our deficit and then doing restorative practices to allow us to get rest in some of these different areas.
We actually have some WBOK listening. Our listening audience just messaged and said they're doing the quiz as we speak. So shout out to them for doing that. So what are some long-term benefits of prioritizing rest, and how does it ultimately contribute to a more fulfilling and successful life?
Well, a life that without rest tends to be one that is high stress and has a very, very little opportunity for reflection and appreciation. And so when we allow ourselves opportunities to reflect, it gives us a chance to evaluate, and is the success in the life I'm building the life I actually desire? We find a lot of people, when they say success, they don't really know what it is that they're looking for. And most of us, when we say we want a life that is successful, we want a life that allows us freedom and allows us the ability to feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And so we have to realize those things can't be truly experienced if we're in a grind culture, if we're always pushing, if we're never actually taking time to stop and enjoy our lives. I oftentimes think about it like the honeybee. The honeybee's always buzzing around producing honey, but oftentimes doesn't stop long enough to actually taste the sweetness of the life it's producing. And we want to be those who actually take time to stop and appreciate what we're producing.
So before you leave, how can we help those around us, our loved ones, friends, or colleagues, recognize the importance of rest without feeling judgmental or pushy?
Yeah, that's the reason behind the title of my book, Sacred Rest. We have to really get rest back to a place of understanding that it is not something we do after the work is done. Biblically, for those who have a biblical reference, rest was what was done on the seventh day. Well, mankind was made on the second half of the sixth day. The first full day on the earth for mankind was the day of rest. Rest is where we start. We start by filling ourselves up. We start by increasing our ability to be able to do the work that we're going out to do. And when people understand that, you don't have to fight with them to rest. They want to rest because they know it empowers them to be the best version of themselves.
I think that's the way to end this segment. Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith, we want to thank you here at WBOK for joining us this morning, and I hope that you have a restful rest of your Monday. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Listen, I want to thank Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith, author, speaker, and board-certified physician for joining us this morning, talking about the importance of rest. I don't know if it resonated with you, but it absolutely resonated with me. But on the other side of the break, you know what's about to happen, y'all. We about to pick up where we left off. We're going to talk all things post-election. We're going to talk about the outcome of the Bayou Classic, and we're going to talk about the United Healthcare murder of its CEO. We'll have that and a whole lot more right here on WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
Good Monday morning to you. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. Bond is set for the teen accused of killing 2 people and injuring several others in the Second Line shooting last month. A judge set 19-year-old Curtis Gray's bond at $10 million. Gray was arrested Friday in Jefferson Parish for the deadly shooting at the 9-time Second Line in November. 21-year-old Rashawn Carter and 19-year-old Malachi Jackson were killed and 13 others were injured. Gray's next court appearance is scheduled for April 6th. The NOPD is searching for 2 men accused in a carjacking while armed in the Marigny Bywater area. This happened Saturday night off of Decatur Street. Police say the victim was sitting inside of his car when both men came up to him with a weapon and ordered him to get out. The victim did, and the men drove away in an unknown direction. As you learn more details, we'll keep you updated on this situation. All right, this morning, the Who Dat Nation is waiting to learn the fate of quarterback Derek Carr after he went down with a painful injury on Sunday. Carr left the game in the fourth quarter, and now the NFL Network is reporting that he may have fractured his left hand. That hasn't been officially confirmed by the team, and we're expecting an update this afternoon from head coach Darren Rizzi. The Saints won that game yesterday, and the Saints play former LSU standout Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders this Sunday in the Dome. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a fantastic Monday.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com. LCMChealth.com.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present the Keeping You Well Cafe, 60 minutes of LCMC Health, where doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of health care in the New Orleans area, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. Over the next few months, LCMC Health will join WBOK and local businesses to answer your health and wellness questions. Through this partnership, LCMC Health will provide resources to the community, including subject matter experts from the hospitals that will share expertise on health concerns and wellness practices to help you live your best life. Tune in to WBOK during the last hour of the reality check, or catch us at lcmchealth.org and follow us on social media.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
This is Brandon Henry, IT Director for Equity Media, wishing everyone a happy and safe holidays from WBOK.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, and super producer Nara Sanders is behind the glass holding us down, and our GM Justin just walked in. Hey, Justin. So listen, happy Monday, y'all. I want to also thank our guest once again, Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith, for joining us this morning. But we're going to pivot right back into some conversations we were having about post-election outcomes. We talked very heavily this morning about our school board race. Gabriella Bureau was the winner of the District 2 race against Eric Doc Jones for that last vital coveted school board seat. And we were just having some thoughts all around the board about that, and just the word hypocrisy continues to come up, because when you consistently see hit pieces on folk, I don't know how does it not make you step back and question the motives behind it, the authors behind it, who benefits from it? Because real journalism would say, let's talk about both candidates, so that we can get to the issue, which is who's best to lead policy for children. That should have been the question that was always asked, no matter what information came out. How does this help or harm children? How does this benefit kids? So when we talk about somebody's record or somebody's resume, then we have to dissect the opponent's record and resume. If we're going to talk about people's personal lives, which I don't think they ever have a place in this sort of space when we're talking politics, but if that's what we're going to do and call ourselves journalists, then we have to do it big picture. Let's talk about it all, right? Any situation that is one side is like a seesaw. If you don't balance the weights, one side is going to take the brunt of it and one side is going to skate. And that's what happened here. We don't know much about Gabriella because not much was dissected about her. We allow her to get on platforms and tell us why she ran, which was because she had a baby and she wanted better school choices for her child, right? And she said all of the things that he was also saying in terms of wanting direct run schools, wanting a more balanced school system, even using the word hybrid, which is a Senator Joe Boy's thing, right? Hybrid, making certain that the schools that are charter that are working stay. And then we have the option to direct run, right? You've heard me say the word hybrid here. So she didn't say anything new. She didn't say anything innovative. She said the safe things to say, and they allow her to skate. But somebody stepped out of line, right? For what the big wigs in the charter movement, they didn't want him to do that. So they made him an example. And they used some supposed blackface social media to do it. And I say supposed because we don't actually know who's running these pages. They appear to use, black vernacular, AAVE. They appear to be, people at the cookout, but we don't know who they are because they're hiding behind social media pages. But I do know that a lot of the pages were paid. Some of them even have the caption at the bottom saying paid for by Education Reform Action Network, right? They paid them to have that platform access to deliver to their listening audience. They paid for that, those hit pieces. And so I would tell you to be very careful and be very mindful when you see big money coming into what should be small community races. Then you have to ask yourself who benefits really from this. And so turning our attentions now to the mayoral race in Baton Rouge. The mayoral race in Baton Rouge was won by a coach. He coached the Struma High School, and he won with 54% of the votes. Sid Edwards is the first Republican candidate to be elected mayor president since Bobby Ray Simpson in 2000. It's been 24 years. I'm being told that Dr. Jones is on the line for us, so we're going to pause this conversation about Baton Rouge and welcome him to the Good Morning Show. Good morning, Dr. Jones.
Good morning.
Turn your radio down a little bit so we can hear you clearer.
I just good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm blessed, highly favored. I want to take this opportunity and thank all of you for at least just identifying situations that occur that relates to people's experiences, the big money that supports what they don't want in the system. I can take criticisms, and I wanted to publicly know that I can take any type of criticism because the character that I am and the person that I am, as people say, you go, they go, the president, former president, or first lady say, you go, when they go low, you go high. And then God spoke to me and said, when they go low, you look high. You lift your eyes up into what your help comes from. So I understand those dynamics. However, when it comes to experience, and that's what I think you draw the line, when they didn't even validate that, when they paid off people like you said, and big money folk that did that, and they got to answer to that as we move forward. But again, I know, and everybody else know what they want in this system. They don't want change. They want control. The worst thing they could have done to me, and I want the public to know that, they put my full name and my Social Security out there, which I'm dealing with this morning. And I think that's where you draw the line at. And I think my life could be ruined at this point, not my character, because you can build character back. But you got to protect what you have out there. So once again, to the public and the voters and those in District 2 that voted for me and thought that I was, regardless of what they put out, regardless of who paid them to put that out, they supported me. I thank all of the elected officials. And I want to close on this. I thought a long time ago, I said, you didn't have any strong people in the city of New Orleans. We do have some. And I want to send a strong acknowledgement out to Dr. Joe Bowie, who really is a pioneer when we talk about the public education system, when we talk about community involvement and engagement, and his invested interest in what is best for our children and our parents and our families. So I had to send a huge shout out to him today, and then another shout out to you, Doc, little Doc, and Wyatt, who's doing an amazing job, and Oliver Thomas. So thank you guys for so much, and all those groups that supported me who are out there. But again, people can attack your character. They don't care. It spent $250,000 the first time. I can't imagine what they spent the last time. And 10% turned out. So again, to put children doesn't have any experience, won't have any experience, and for the teachers union, who represents all quality education inside of classrooms, supposedly to protect and preserve teachers, which we don't have a student union that protects our student voices, representation that they want for our children. So once again, thank all of you. I just wanted to respond to that to let y'all know that I'm strong, I'm still standing, and I'm still going to continue to fight for our children in this city.
Well, thank you so much, Doc, for joining us this morning. Have a blessing.
You too.
Listen, I just want to say again, I'm going to reiterate this again. Though the opponent wasn't responsible for the hit pieces, I used the word benefactor earlier. I meant to say Leslie Rosenthal Jacobs is the benefactor, but she was the beneficiary of those hit pieces. And I think that needs to be made very clear. Like there's a way to inform the public that is equitable, because we're not even going to use the word fair, because nothing about anything is fair. I learned that the hard way. But that it is equitable, and I would suggest, you go have a sit down over there with Channel 6. They wanted you on the hot seat. Now go sit down and talk about it. Talk about the aftermath of it. Talk about who the kingmakers are. Talk about the people who are running this $1 billion fraud on our children, because I'm sure you know all of their names. You used to be a part of the circle, right? You had an en route to that, to the demise of our schools. So go sit down over there with Channel 6. They wanted you. Now, this is an even better story. Tell the truth about who they are, and let's call them out so we can hold them accountable, and anybody that's attached to them accountable for what is happening to our children in this system. You have the keys now, because they've done everything that they could do. But what I would expect is for now you to say what it is, plain and simple, who they are, plain and simple. Because just like you know who the matriarch of it is, you know who her offspring is. Show us who they are. You've been in those rooms. You've been privy to the private conversations and the private dealings, right? Tell us who they are. That's it. Something good can come from this. I would say something even better can come from this. Tell us who they are. Good morning, John. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I've been getting bits and pieces of your concern and conversation. One, take care of your health, because you know good tools if you done stroked out or something like that. So make sure you take care of that.
Thank you.
I think that race, that school board deal there, I think it might be like a double-edged sword. I think we might be a combination of things. A victim of identity politics may have worked actually to hurt us, because here you had two blacks running, but some people in the mind said, oh, give this to a black woman. But in this case, this was a black woman, didn't have our best interests for what we could tell. I don't know much about her. Two, we're going to have to prepare ourselves, because New Orleans is not the New Orleans it was. Our demographics have changed. They have people in our different neighborhoods and wards and communities that are not from here. So they have different ideas. Okay, we're only about, I think, 60% of the population now in New Orleans. Given another 10 years, I speculate we're going to be a minority. And then you have to look at a lot of those strong fighters that you're talking about, like I mentioned to you at the at school meeting down there, when you asked about where those kids were, why they've disappeared. I say a lot of those kids are not in the city no more. They've been gentrified, priced out. A lot of the people have just left the city, moved to neighboring parishes, and in some cases just sort of out of the region. And so we're going to have to formulate new strategies, because our communities are filling up with people who don't have the same ideas that we do, and they're going to start moving differently. So that's all I can say. We're going to have to formulate better strategies, and we're going to have to coalesce around what we do have and strengthen it, because our communities are changing with different ideas.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Listen, I agree. I don't think that John was talking about anybody other than the mayor of Baton Rouge when he was talking about she was black. I could be wrong, but that's the thought process we were on, what I was on when he was saying she's black. I thought he was talking about the mayor of Baton Rouge. We absolutely know Leslie Rosenthal Jacobs is not a black woman. I don't think that's who he was talking about. I think he was talking about the unseating of Sharon Weston Broome out in Baton Rouge by the coach for Astruma. And one of his campaign people said she was quoted as saying, a staffer, he or she, in quotation marks, he's just a coach and now he's just the mayor. I guess that was a slight back at the people saying that he was just a coach. Well, that was factual at the time. He was just a coach, a high school football coach. And I don't understand why people's actual professions are considered insults. If you're a high school football coach, you're a high school football coach. That's who you were. Yes, now you are the mayor, but prior to that, you were a high school football. If you were a chemist, they would be saying the chemist is running for mayor. I don't know why that's a slight. I don't know why you're trying to like use this reverse attack or something like, oh, she's a hairdresser. You are a hairdresser. That's what you are. That's your profession. Like, no, nobody's trying to slight you. We're just saying. So, like, let's stop with all of this. I'm just disturbed by how we've allowed, mediocrity to be the standard, especially in spaces where human capital is at stake. Our children's very lives are at stake, and we actually gave them up to a person who has, with all due respect, no foundation in the very field that she's asking to represent. That's so weird to me. That's so weird to me, but I digress. But I will tell you that when our current governor was the attorney general, his eyes were laser focused on New Orleans, East Baton Rouge, and Caddo parishes. Ask yourself why. And now there's an all-out full court press on all of those areas where predominantly poor Black people reside under predominantly Black leadership. There's an all-out assault, full court press on these areas. And the saddest part about it is there are Black elite who are complicit in the full court press on their own communities. Because you know why? They no longer resonate with us because they're not living poor like we are. They're living well. It doesn't resonate with them anymore because their children aren't relegated to the failure of this school system. It doesn't resonate with them anymore because they got a house with a gate now. They got a garage door opener. They could afford bread and eggs and milk at the same time. It doesn't resonate with them. So when they're looking to the future for their next political stepping stone, they feel like they need the deep pockets of the very people who have destroyed their own communities. I pray every single day that God orders my steps and he never lets me turn into what I despise. Because I despise this. I despise cowards. I'm talking about cowards. This is cowardice. If you can't protect children, you are a coward. If you sell out your neighborhood for some shiny silver, you are a coward. If you endorse somebody publicly and you privately go against their interests, you are a coward. And that's what we need to start calling y'all, cowards. I don't care what your title is. Lead with coward. Lead with coward, and then we gonna say your office thereafter. But I'm tired of y'all. And y'all shouldn't have no place in the community fighting for its very survival. You don't belong here if your intent is not to protect it and its children by any means necessary. Because, see, that's the difference between them and us. Those people have figured out how to collectively wrap their arms around one goal, and that is to protect white supremacy at all costs. And they've bought into it, and anybody that steps out of line will be eradicated, whether personally or professionally, emotionally, mentally, physically. They're going to break you, and they're going to remove you by any means. That's the only way you could explain a Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was put there with a specific goal in mind, to be a bulldog, to say all of the nasty things that nobody else want to say, to do all of the nasty things that nobody else wants to do. That is her mission. And she's bought into it full force. While we up there still playing niceties and being sweet and talking about working across the aisle, and people don't care nothing about no aisle. They don't care nothing about no aisle. They will put their foot on your neck for 9 minutes and 34 seconds, and they will tell you that you deserved it. They don't care nothing about no aisle. Across the aisle, who cares what's over there? White supremacy is over here. Power is over here. Money is over here. That's why they don't want no common sense gun laws, because their children are not being shot up in schools and churches. They don't care. It's not happening to them. So why they don't care about public schools? Because they don't have to participate. They have money, baby. And money and power crowns the king. That is what we're seeing every single day in this city. Nobody cares about the poor black children. I went to court last week, right? I sat in court last week, criminal district courts, and every defendant was a black boy. Every one of them. Every single one. I was in there for hours. Every one of them, young and black. I think the eldest person that I saw might have been in his 50s, and that was just one. Every child that was shackled from wrist to feet with the orange jumpsuit was 25 and younger. Every one of them. They're creating systems for our children. And they paving the street gold for theirs. I don't understand it. I ain't never been no coward. I came out the womb fighting. I was a preemie, baby. I was 4 pounds at birth. I ain't never been no coward, and I never will be. There's a saying in one of the movies that I love, and it's in music too. The lyric says, I'd rather die like a man than live like a coward. That's what it says. Some of y'all ain't never had no heart. Some of y'all ain't never had to fight for nothing. That's why you don't fight for nothing. Some of y'all ain't never really been in the trenches. That's why you don't know what it's like. That's why you have no empathy for the children who are trying to navigate the trenches with no resources, none, and no love. This is sad on every level. I'm disturbed by it. But you know what I'm about to stop doing? I'm about to stop being nice to the people who I know selling out my children. And what I mean by that is don't try to hug me. Don't try to say good morning to me. Don't say, hey, doc, to me. Because I'm going to tell you what I can't tell you on this air. I'm going to tell you to your face. Stay away from me. I don't want no cowards around me. Good morning, Miss Anita. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, darling. I do feel your pain. I feel your anger.
I'm disturbed,
I feel
Miss
you
Anita.
right now.
I'm disturbed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I feel you. I feel you. And it's so sad for your own people to sell you out like that. And what these children gonna do? They're gonna drop out and because they're not being taught like they should. And the representatives, they're just no good for the children.
Look, I appreciate you, Miss Anita, and we have to go to break. But I absolutely appreciate you, and I hear the care in your voice. I wish more of us actually care for real in real life.
Yes, ma'am.
This is so sad because I guarantee if we poll a lot of these well-to-do people and we ask them, would you want a hairdresser leading your schools? I guarantee you the answer not going to be what they went in the boat and voted for. I guarantee you it won't.
Crazy to me.
It won't.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the times we living in.
What know about governing?
Yeah, I don't know, Miss Anita, but I have to go to break. But I hope you continue to
Yes,
listen
ma'am.
in
I'm
because I'm going to continue talking.
Listen, darling.
Thank you so much, Miss Anita. Have a blessed one. Listen, we have to go to break, but y'all know on the other side, we're going to continue this conversation. We'll have that and a whole lot more right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Today is a WDSU first warning weather impact day because we could see flash flooding. Expect rain throughout the morning and again this afternoon with more on the way Tuesday. 1 to 3 inches of rain expected with some areas possibly seeing more. Minor to moderate street flooding is possible, so don't forget the rain gear. Highs today rise to the 70s, will drop to the 50s 50s, though, by Wednesday. For the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM. It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
The ankle monitoring system in New Orleans is a disgrace, a dismal failure, and a public safety threat. People are being shot and killed. I see nothing being done about it. In my humble opinion, the whole damn system as practiced in New Orleans should be thrown out. Ideally, the ankle monitoring system, which uses electronic monitoring devices, is supposed to track the location of an individual under court supervision. It's an alternative to putting the person in jail, typically used for people on probation, parole, or awaiting trial. Time and time again, individuals wearing ankle monitors have been caught committing crimes while they're supposed to be under supervision in our city. The state attorney general ordered an investigation of the system back in July. The situation is just getting worse. Several days ago, masked gunmen drove through the French Quarter, opening fire in front of the popular Dickie Brennan's restaurant, killing one person and injuring 3 others. Police immediately tracked down one of the suspected gunmen. You guessed it, he was wearing an ankle monitor. 28-year-old Nicholas Marana is now being held on account of second-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted second-degree murder. He was wearing an ankle monitor for weapons charges and negligent injury, according to the NOPD. Officials from the company that keeps track of the monitoring system said Marana had violated the conditions of his ankle monitoring parole 40 times prior to the mass shooting in the French Quarter. The monitoring company told the news media that the violations were reported to the court, and that means he should have been arrested and put behind bars for violating his parole well before the mass shooting. Why didn't that happen, Criminal District Court Judge Leon Roche? Why didn't it happen after the first time, Judge, but 40 times? Come on, Judge. Judge Roche, if someone else is to blame or if someone should share the blame, we need you to tell us. Otherwise, it seems you're responsible for what happened. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month, a service of the community scientist and Rise St. James. This month, we're focusing on lead, a heavy metal that's dense, soft, and poses serious health risks. In Cancer Alley, lead exposure from industrial emissions or contaminated soil can significantly increase cancer risks and other health problems. Stay informed and protect your health. For more information, visit risestjames.org.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
Keep up with NOLA Public Schools through Education Elevation. Education Elevation will highlight the achievements, innovations, and contributions of scholars, educators, schools, and the district. Tune in every fourth Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. for engaging conversations and updates as we strengthen connections and support the needs of our scholars. Mark your calendars for every fourth Wednesday at 11:30 a.m.
This is Eddie Francis, your friendly neighborhood WBOK fill-in. Happy holidays to you and yours. Don't eat too much, just enough.
Hey, everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Super producer Nara Sanders is behind the glass holding us down. I am just on this Monday thankful for commercial breaks so we could pay bills, because I was on the verge of like crying, honestly, because this is a sad state of affairs here that we have going on. But I mean what I say. I mean what I say, and I'm going to stand on what I say. If you are working against the best interests of my children, I want you to stay out of my face. Don't invite me to your party. Don't invite me to your mixer. Don't talk to me. Just stay away from me, because you and I we don't mix well. I don't want to even know you. I don't want to know those kinds of people. So for me, I'm going to take a personal stance, and here's the thing. I know who you are, and you know I know who you are. So just stay away from me so we could be comfortable around each other. Like, stay away from me. You don't have to make no small talk. You ain't got to hug me. You ain't got to speak to me. Just keep it pushing. Because I'm for my community and I'm for its children. And anything against that is against me. And I don't want you around me. We got to all start to have some personal standards about ourselves. Because that's the only thing going to change this. The people got too much money. They're going to keep outspending us. But if regular everyday folk tell you fake cowards to stay away from them, we're going to separate. And it's going to be a clear distinction between who bought this life for this city and these children, and who about making certain that their family is good at the expense of this community and its children. That's the only thing gonna change this. I wish some of y'all go at scarlet letters when y'all take her money. I wish there could be a letter emblazoned on y'all somewhere that say for sale, like a for sale sign on y'all. I wish when she give y'all the money, she could stamp y'all, like her herd, her cattle. That's what she need to do. She need to start branding y'all so we can know who y'all are. Because I'm sick of you, to be quite honest. Like, I am very, very, very much sick of it. And make no mistake, when we talk about the meanings behind things, right? And that words have meanings and language is important. Y'all better start paying attention to what they're not saying. Because, the real good life politicians have figured out all the nice buzzwords to say to make you comfortable around them, but listen to what they're not saying. Sid Edwards is the new mayor president of Baton Rouge, of East Baton Rouge Parish, right? Edwards took the podium to deafening cheers at his election night party at White Oak Plantation. And I'm going to let that rest right there. All I want to say is shout out to Congressman Benny Thompson. I'm sorry, Congressman Cleo Fields. The Jaguars just didn't go to play because the Bayou Classic Trophy went back to Mississippi. They won it decidedly 41-13. And I've heard from some Southern folk that they even gave the band a run for their money as well. So don't tell me, Congressman Cleo, that you lost the war and you lost the halftime show. Don't make me believe that, sir. But shout out to Congressman Benny Thompson for that wonderful camaraderie between our two states. But the Bayou Classic Trophy did go back to Jackson. The United Healthcare murder, y'all, I wanted to briefly speak on that before we left. There's about 1/3 of the claims from the United Healthcare that have been decided by artificial intelligence. They denied 1/3 of the claims using AI. They service 49 million Americans with healthcare, and they're denying 1/3 of the claims using AI. And it's so crazy because the very people who need you the most are probably somewhere relegated to that 1/3. And it's just sickening to think that on every level we're being disserviced in exchange for just greed and profit. I wonder if all of these folk who disservice people believe that they can put that money in those ill-gotten gains in that casket with them when they die. You can't take that with you. And one thing I do know, you're going to meet somebody. I don't know if you're going to meet them at the pearly gates or at the gates of hell, but you're going to meet somebody, and I can guarantee you can't take any of this with you. So we need to just start being better to each other and for each other. But this city right here, the city of New Orleans, better wake up, because they're no longer whispering. They're saying the quiet parts very much out loud, and they're using the voting booth to show us what they think of us. It's time for us to come together, y'all, on some real stuff. Eradicate the people who are not for us, and let's collectively do what we can to bring our children up to where they need to be. I'm Dr. Ashanta White. That's my super producer, Nyron Sanders. And up next is The Front Porch with Graylin and Kimber. Y'all take care of yourselves. I'll see y'all tomorrow. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.